Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It comes to us from now director Michael Chavez. James Wan previously helmed the 2 previous films, but now we have Michael Chavez, director of Ya Llorona, which is another film in this Conjuring universe. This film stars Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga once again, and it tells the story of the Warrens investigating a murder that may be linked to a demonic possession. Now, I was actually a pretty big fan of the first Conjuring. I just watched it this past week for the first time ever, and I really had a fun time with it. It's definitely one of my favorite horror movies that I've seen so far. And the second one, not so much. It fell off a little bit for me, but I was still excited to check out this one, the third film in this trilogy. And it's solid, but pretty forgettable, unfortunately. I love the opening scene. It's very suspenseful and sets the tone off right away perfectly. It just starts off with a bang, and then after that first scene and the title rolls, the film really slows down for me. I think the best part about this movie, though, is definitely Vera Farmiga and Patrick Wilson. They have 1, great chemistry, and 2, give really good performances. These movies are secretly kind of about their love story and how it's grown and how it has changed over time, and we learn more about how they met, and which is really the backbone of this movie. And I'm glad that this movie isn't just a horror movie. I'm glad that it has some heart to it, and you can have characters that you can care for. But Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga were the best parts about this movie, and that's kind of all I can really give this movie. I just didn't really enjoy myself watching it. I didn't really find it to be very investing. I found myself to be checking the time every once in a while, and I wasn't really getting invested with this movie. The first one I was really invested with. The second one, a little bit less, and I think this one was the least investing for me, which is unfortunate because, like I said, you have that heart in the backbone of this film with that love relationship between Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga, but I really just kind of fell off and didn't really care for anyone else. The first movie had some good characters that I could care for. Second movie had some better characters, but this one, these characters felt very thin, and I genuinely did not care for any of them. The main character is being possessed, and I really did not care about his fate in the movie, which is very surprising because you would think that that's really what you would care about, but for me, it did not feel like he was not an investing character. 2 had little to none of a backstory, and 3 just wasn't really that interesting, and the actor's performance, it wasn't necessarily bad, but I just really did not care about his character. It doesn't really feel like a Conjuring movie to me, and that's probably my biggest fault with this movie. It kind of, you have the returning characters of Ed and Lorraine Warren, but it's missing that Conjuring feel, and I think that is all due to James Wan not being in the director's chair this time around. It's unfortunate, that he didn't want to do this film. You have this guy that's familiar with the franchise, and you bring him into the director's chair, and he just didn't really feel like he gave it his all. James Wan is such a master at directing, and he's one of the best horror directors working today. His directing was one of the great parts about that first 2 movies, and it's unfortunate that he didn't return for this one. I think the movie really lacks in originality without James Wan in that director's chair. Michael Chavez is not necessarily bad director. It just missed that flair that James Wan brought to these films. Another big problem is the fact that this movie isn't really that scary. The first movie was very scary, as well as the second movie. This movie has a couple jump scares, and that's about it. I really was never on the edge of my seat. And, there are some suspenseful moments here and there. It didn't really feel like a Conjuring movie, and that's what this movie was really lacking for me. All in all, this is a fine Conjuring movie. The first and second are definitely the best ones in this franchise so far. And I really wish this wasn't just a forgettable sequel to some really good horror films that are some of the best in the genre. I'm going to give The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It, a C. It's fun, forgettable. Maybe check it out, but I would definitely recommend checking out the first and second if you haven't seen those. They're both on Netflix, and I definitely recommend checking those ones out, as they're probably one of the best horror movies of all time. Guys, thank you again so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, do give it a like and subscribe if you haven't already. If you want to follow me on social media, all the links will be down below: Instagram, Twitter, Letterboxd, where I give more in-depth movie reviews, some older reviews. So if you guys want to follow me on those, go check it out. Thank you guys again so much for watching. Look out for more reviews coming soon. My name is Ben, people call me Meter, and I'll see you guys in the next one.